Now time to join Clear English for the Art Show.
Thanks, Ken. Welcome to The Art Show. Tonight, with a few deft strokes of the pen or brush, he's created instantly recognisable and brutally honest caricatures of world leaders and politicians. And now he turns his attention to heroes and villains through history. Gerald Scarfe tells us about his latest exhibition. We introduce you to a diva from Mali, Uma Sangare, and how to make a Hollywood exec sit up and listen to your film pitch. Maverick movie maker Ryan Williams shares his unorthodox techniques with us. Now, here's a dilemma. You want to be a player in Hollywood, you have a great idea for a film, but there's as much chance of getting a big studio exec to pick up your calls and talk turkey as there is getting through to the Oval Office to tell George W. how to run this country. What does the young, enterprising and slightly unhinged filmmaker do? Well, if he's Ryan Williams, then guerrilla tactics come into play. He was desperate to get his film Abby Singer noticed. Ryan is on the line now from Missouri. Good evening to you, Ryan. How are you doing?
Good evening, Scotland. I'm very well, thank you.
Good evening, Missouri. I've always wanted to say that as if I was playing some stadium gig. But tell us about your idea for Abby Singer, the movie. What was the big concept?
Well, the big concept was just basically make something, make it cheap, and make Hollywood notice.
What was the plot?
The plot's about a schizophrenic casting director who sort of has a mental breakdown against the backdrop of all these celebrities attending star-studded events.
This really is a bit of a case of life imitating art. You were desperate. You knew it was impossible to get the CEOs of the studios to look at any of your PR stuff, or anyone for that matter. Hollywood's run on connections. You didn't have that, so you took matters into your own hands. Tell us about Operation Nighthawk.
Well, Operation Nighthawk came about after we got all the celebrity cameos. We thought that would be enough. We got Brad Pitt and Jodie Foster in the movie, and we thought, wow, our phone's just going to be ringing off the hook. Sure enough, we can't even pay our phone bill, so the phone gets disconnected. And we're sitting around the apartment thinking, we've got to get people to notice this. But more than that, we've got to get people to notice what we did to get it noticed. So then we went to the Golden Globes and crashed in on it, and that's where we met Tim Cooper.
How easy was that then? You had to sort of fake laminate passes, didn't you?
Well, I passed myself off as the fire marshal of Beverly Hills, and sure enough, the Secret Service of the United States, who actually does security for George W. Bush himself, believed I was the fire marshal of Beverly Hills.
You must have been real good. Maybe you're a method actor, no?
You go method in those moments, and it also helps to drink enough gin before you go.
Well, that's the point. It was just the sheer bravado of you doing this and strolling into studios and dumping things on desks, phoning people. That's what got you through, wasn't it?
Exactly. That's what got people talking about it, and no one would have believed we had the celebrities in it if we didn't make them see it with their own eyes. And there was no way to get them to look at anything if we didn't break into their office and put it right on their desk.
But hang on, you went to some funny lengths to get those celebs to go on tape in the first place. Didn't you kind of trick Jodie Foster as the first victim, really?
Jodie Foster thought I was a reporter from E! Entertainment Television. That's true. But I think she knows what's going on now.
And then what happened? As soon as you tell what Brad Pitt and other people, it's like dominoes. They say, ooh, she's in it. I'm interested.
Exactly. We got Jodie Foster first, and then you say to Brad Pitt, hey, listen, man, I got Jodie Foster who was on board with this. And, I wouldn't tell this to anybody else here tonight, but I really want you to get a chance to be a part of this, too.
It is absolutely terrifying, the access you managed to gain. You've just mentioned it there. You seem totally plausible, but I do believe there were victims in this, that some of the security team got fired.
Yeah, and that actually weighs on me pretty heavy. I don't like to see people lose their jobs, but at the same time, on that token, it's kind of social Darwinism. My job, I run a legitimate production company. We're trying to market our film, and if my job collides with your job, and you don't do your job as well as I do, and you get fired because of that, I'm not going to cry too many tears.
Well, listen, what's the skinny with the film? Is it actually happening, or did any of this hype work?
It's actually doing very well. In fact, I have an announcement. I know Tim will be glad to hear this.
Go for it.
This is the first time I'm telling this anywhere. We've been selected for Francis Ford Coppola's inaugural New Orleans media experience that starts October 26th through November 1st.
Tell us exactly what that means, please.
It's basically a brand new festival in New Orleans. It's very exciting. Francis Ford Coppola's on the board of advisors, and it deals primarily with media convergence, which is sort of the wave of the future, where digital people can make movies for under $5,000 or, 2,500 pounds, and go, on the internet and put that in every home in the world.
That's terrific news, but it does kind of underline a rather sort of shady morality here, that you can go in and bluff your way into anything, and it works.
Well, you fake it till you make it is the old saying, and I guess if you made it, then you probably weren't faking it in the first place.
Did you ever feel at any point during your ploys to get access to people that you were going to be rumbled and what you'd do and you might be facing a jail sentence?
Yeah, well, I've had that feeling of facing a jail sentence once or twice in my life, and you just have to ignore it. You just have to say, here's my goal, here's my intention, I'm the underdog, I'm a nobody, what do I have to lose, because I'm starting at zero anyway. That's
the problem, you have nothing left to lose. There must be many people in your position who are thinking, I'm just not connected, do I start doing what that guy did?
It's probably going to be a little harder, because we actually, to sort of make amends and to rebuild bridges, we went into security at Paramount, and they shared that with all the other studios, and we actually shared with them the techniques we used to breach their security, and I think they improved the security somewhat because of our counseling, but at the same time, it's a little scary after September 11th that they're not as on the ball as you might think.
Well, it's a wake-up call for them anyway, Ryan. It's good to talk to you. Stay on the line anyway, because we're going to talk to Tim now, who you know. Are you applauding or gasping in horror, Tim Cooper, a journalist? You met Ryan at the Golden Globes, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm just surprised you managed to get hold of him, actually. I don't know if you're aware, but the phone number for the Wembley Hall Theatre Company is, in fact, just one cell phone that goes everywhere with him. So if he runs out of credit, you're not going to get him.
Well, were you on to what he was up to at the Golden Globes? How did he reveal himself to you? That sounds quite shady, actually, doesn't it?
Well, he just bluffed his way through everything, and I had to admire his bravado, as you said. I mean, I was at a party after the awards for Paramount, who'd won everything with the hours, and there were celebrities everywhere, Nicole Kidman, Meryl Streep, all clutching their awards. And out on the balcony there was Hugh Grant and Stephen Daldry, who I was trying to talk to. And then this crazy character who looked completely out of place among the tuxedos, and there was something immediately likeable and, to be honest, drunk about him.
Did he look like a fire marshal?
He didn't look like any fire marshal I've ever seen.
But it was an amazing, sophisticated operation, this, wasn't it, Nighthawk? Almost worthy of a film in its own right.
Yes, I mean, you could hold the view that the film of the story of Abby Singer could be an improvement even on Abby Singer, but yes, I don't know, the whole thing's just built on artifice, but I suppose the point is that the whole of Hollywood's built on artifice, so you never quite get caught out.
But it really just shows how desperately disconnected the big studio bosses have become from the creative source if you have to resort to this kind of stunt to get attention.
Yes, well, I mean, they are notorious for never answering their calls and refusing to hear your pitch, and so it's the difficult bit's just getting through the front door, and I guess these guys worked out a way to do that and went straight to the people.
So it is a bit of a busted flush now, isn't it? Because as Ryan was saying, security's now been beefed up. Nobody else will be able to replicate this stunt.
Well, they can try, but I went with them on most of these, and I was pretty amazed at how easily it worked in most cases.
Well, are you amazed at the result? Now we've got Ryan telling us the world exclusive tonight about this Coppola thing. Are you impressed?
I'm impressed, but I'm not really amazed, because I suppose I would have dismissed him as a bluffer, but something about him, his passion for making this movie, and more to the point, his determination to sell it and get people to see it, was what convinced me. I mean, I could have got off the plane in Los Angeles after arranging to meet him and find that I was the butt of a bad joke. Ryan,
what do you make of that? You still there?
Yeah, no, I definitely feel bad. I should have apologized. We were about an hour and a half late and drunk the first time we met him in L.A., so that's my bad that he got that impression.
Well, listening to all that patiently in London, England, alongside Tim is Neil Norman, film critic for the Evening Standard. Neil, what Ryan did was amazing, but there have been precedents, and many of them involving some of the huge names in the industry. Tell us all about them.
There have been, yes. I must admit, this is a wonderful story, and I'm very pleased to hear it. Yeah, it's a great story, and good luck to you, Ryan. But I mean, this the most, I suppose, the most famous director ever to have performed this sort of blag is Steven Spielberg, who literally, when he was in the process of making short movies and being turned down for film schools, in fact, he was turned down twice by USC. I think he was studying English at California State University. He was on the Universal tour bus, and he just hopped off in the middle of the tour. and started wandering around the studios until he found, the legend has it, he found an empty broom closet, which he turned into an office. And because he started hanging around all the time, and he also dressed up, he dressed very well, he wore his bar mitzvah suit and tie, nobody questioned him because he became such a familiar face. Anyway, he outfitted his little office, and he made a film. He made his first film there called Amblin, which was a 24-minute film, and was a huge success, and subsequently became the name of his company.
There must be others that have pulled some stunts as well.
Indeed. Well, I suppose the great bluffer and the great, not fraudster, but magician is Orson Welles, of course, who arrived in Hollywood, studios of RKO, trailing all kinds of glory, some of it real and some of it completely invented. I mean, Wells admittedly had a track record in radio with the Mercury Theatre, when he notoriously brought America to a sort of state of panic with his production of The War of the Worlds, and convinced America that in fact the Martians had landed. So he was already ahead of the game. He knew how to sell. He knew the powers of persuasion and creative bluffing. But he claimed that he directed plays in London and plays in Ireland and all sorts of things, that he had a big track record as a director. Absolute nonsense. He'd attempted to get into the London theatre scene without any success whatsoever, and also knew nothing about film. He learnt his film craft by hiding out in an office of RKO and looking literally through the film stock across a light box just to see how shots were framed.
This is inspiring masses of people. I can just hear them now thinking, I can do this. Ryan Williams has pulled this off and I can do this. One of Ryan's techniques, Neil, was to use bait. No better word for it than getting Jodie Foster on film, and then you get the other stars to come on board like that domino effect I was talking about. But that's something that even the big directors do. They play poker, don't they, basically?
They do. I mean, I think a film that already exists called Bowfinger actually exposes that rather well with Steve Martin, who is a sort of loser filmmaker, and the only way he can get a film made is to have a big star, and the only way he can get a big star in it is to film him without his knowledge. This is the sort of thing that you can attempt to get away with. I mean, I think that what Ryan's done is fantastically comprehensive and very, very well worked out. But I think that the thing is that if you really want to make movies, and there are plenty of examples of people who really want to make movies, they have no access whatsoever. It's not that they don't have any training necessarily, but they have no access to Hollywood. They have no access to the studios. If they're determined enough, they can do it, and without much money. I mean, Robert Rodriguez, for example, legendarily made El Mariachi for $7,000 with a bunch of friends down in Mexico, and he got most of that money by apparently actually putting himself into a hospital drug testing program, for which he got paid $3,000.
You'll be giving Ryan some new ideas here, Neil. Stop. Listen, I better give the final word to Ryan. I'm sorry we're sort of running out of time. I could listen for a lot longer myself. Ryan, advice to anyone out there? Is it, if at first you don't succeed, try again, then cheat?
With the advent of the digital revolution, honestly, I wish I had $7,000 to make Abby Singer. That is 5 times the budget of Abby Singer.
Ryan, Tim, Neil, thank you so much for joining me.
BBC Radio Scotland. Let your ears open your eyes.